Hi everyone, my name is Sophie. I'm 24 and was diagnosed with Fabry when I was 12. I'm going to be focusing today on how I manage my Fabry disease, as well as how I found the transition from the children's hospital to the adult hospital, and hopefully give some insights to those going through that. So starting with my diagnosis, like many Australian schoolgirls, weekly netball games were the highlights to my week. I have really great memories of this time of my life, but I do also remember quite clearly the pain which I had that eventually led me to giving up the sport. I describe this as my fingers and toes being on fire, which to this day I think is still a fairly accurate description of the pain. Considering netball is a game centered around throwing and catching a ball, this made it really difficult to be involved. So I'd often have to come off the court midway through, which others struggled to understand, which was fair enough. But it was often kind of treated or seen as, a typical child being over dramatic with pain. But this was definitely one of the first times I felt the impacts of having a disease with little awareness or understanding from others around you, partly due to the lack of information of the condition. Despite never having heard the word Fabry, my parents have always been so understanding of any pain I experienced. They are truly my greatest advocates, and I would not have had my diagnosis today without them. Many people in my family are very stoic, however, and they don't complain a lot, which, while I completely admire, I have learnt that vulnerability is not a weakness, and expressing the whole spectrum of emotions is so valuable for yourself and others, and has been a way that has really helped me manage my disease. While every Fabry patient will have a unique experience and feel a different range or combination of symptoms that can be linked to Fabry, I've discovered my own way of managing the condition, and I think sharing certain strategies could be beneficial. The physical symptoms I experience most frequently include abdominal pain, acroparesthesia, and joint pain, with others including a lower tolerance to extreme temperatures, particularly heat, and dizziness, tinnitus, and fatigue. Although a lot of these symptoms are experienced very widely, I've realised the importance of not blowing off every experience or every experience of pain or discomfort as purely because of Fabry, because I think it could result in a misdiagnosis of something potentially more treatable. While the physical impacts of Fabry have had a major impact on my life from a young age, I've personally felt that the psychological effects of living with the rare disease have actually had a greater impact on my day-to-day, I'd say. The value of having conversations about our own experiences and expressing our pain or discomfort is widely known to be really beneficial, but one of the major challenges I've struggled with living with Fabry disease is coming to terms with how much and to who I share my experiences. I have, and I still find it incredibly difficult talking about Fabry disease to anyone with little awareness of it. This comes from either not wanting to burden others with my pain, which is, I know, incredibly widespread for so many people with medical conditions, or feeling that others just won't understand, and so not really bothering to talk about it. But finding ways to work through and overcome these mental barriers has been really transformative for me in managing my disease. And I do still struggle to talk about this and knowing how much I should talk about, and I struggle with how much I make exceptions for myself given the impacts I experience from Fabry disease, particularly during school and at work. I often fall into the mindset trying to ignore my health, seeing myself as on par with everyone else and expecting to be able to achieve the same as everyone else. But I am slowly learning to practice more self-compassion, realizing that we're not on a level playing field. And it is really beneficial for me to manage my well-being as it has meant I've placed a lot less pressure on myself, which has actually benefited my physical health. And I think I've had less flare-ups when I've gone through periods of less pressure and stress. But this is ongoing, so I go through ups and downs. I must say I'm incredibly grateful for the Fabry community and support group, as it has allowed me to connect with others who can actually relate to what I'm describing and who have some understanding of the experience, which is really truly unmatched. I'm also so lucky for my Fabry specialists. I've come to learn that while doctors are generally very good at what they do medically, it's quite rare to find a doctor who is also caring and has the patient's needs at the front of their mind during treatment. So I think that's really important. Throughout my time at Westmead Children's Hospital, attending appointments and my fortnightly intravenous infusions for enzyme replacement therapy, I was treated by the most caring, capable team I could have asked for. I really looked up to them, and I really thought about this a lot going into the adults hospital, and it made me a lot more anxious to transition to the adults, as I just didn't expect a new team could even come close. I remember my first time being in the adults hospital, and it was scary. Walking in the hospital is just completely different. The kids are so colourful, and adults is just not as colourful, but my nerves were quickly eased following my first appointment with Dr. Chan, because he was really just calm and caring and very proficient at what he does. I would recommend anyone transitioning to the adults to keep as many things within your control consistent for that first period. I couldn't begin listing the number of sacrifices my family have made for me, but I think my mum in particular, coming to attend every Westmead appointment at the Children's was such a comfort for me. So having her come to my first appointments with Dr. Chan was really good to keep some consistency, and it made it easier. I am definitely also starting to experience the differences just in general life, in terms of going from a child in school to being an adult, and dealing with work commitments and other commitments. I think I've struggled a lot with disclosing my medical information to workplaces I've not felt comfortable knowing that in the past, because I've been worried what might happen with that information, or what how I might be treated because of that information. But I think gradually come to open up a bit more about it, and I personally have had a really good experience of being quite open about it, and I think it makes me feel a lot more comfortable working in a place where they have some idea. They don't know everything, because it's just, as I've said, a lot to tell someone about every part of a rare disease. But I think just a bit of an understanding is really great for them to have. There's so many more things to think about, obviously, being an adult, in terms of organising appointments and just the ways I think Fabry can affect your life that you wouldn't really think of without experiencing it. I found it, I often find it quite hard how much, as I said, how much I kind of open up about it, and that can affect my relationships. But I think, moving to the adults hospital, I think it's a lot less scary than it may seem, and the doctors are still great there, even though we have this idea that pediatric doctors are more compassionate and calm and caring. I just don't think it's always the case, and I think I've had a really great experience. So that first time in the adults hospital will probably be a bit scary, but once you make the transition, it gets much easier, and Yeah, I think one important thing that I have learnt is that as much as I need to acknowledge that I have Fabry disease and it does affect me, I don't I don't like it taking up my life, and I like to live as someone who, I'm Sophie and I have Fabry disease. It's not my whole identity. And I think that's been really good to just kind of become comfortable with. And yeah, so anyway, I know I haven't given a whole lot of specific ideas, but I hope my kind of experience has given some sort of insight into whatever anyone else is going through. And yeah, good luck with your Fabry journey.